What Did I Say with Dan Rothenberg. Hello and welcome to the show. We have a good one for you today. I'm going to be having a conversation with my pal, Alicia Dattner. She's a fellow comedian from back in the day in San Francisco. Really successful solo performer. And she now lives in Los Angeles, continues to perform. She did a show called The Oi of Sex, play off on the words from The Joy of Sex. That was that book a lot of us learned about sex from, if you're a fellow Gen Xer in our parents' closet. The pictures were a little funky and confusing, but better than learning from porn, which is how a lot of kids are learning now. So we did okay. Us Gen Xers, and I'm having her on this podcast because her show is about it's about dating and love addiction, boiling it down to its essence, looking for self-esteem and self-worth in her case, dating boys, and it's really, really funny. And there's also we get into some of her childhood and which led her to her experiences, which basically what it comes down to is our kids are going to do what they do, right? But maybe there are some things we can do to role model positive relationships and to give them self-esteem and to give them validation so they're not looking for it elsewhere. And again, our kids are going to have their experiences and they're going to find their sexuality, but we all probably want to do what we can do to keep them from, we all know it. We've all been there. You can waste a lot of energy with the wrong people. I'll just put it that way. Okay. And now let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Alicia Dattner. Alicia, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Dan.
You and I did comedy back in the 90s, early 2000s in San Francisco, and I know you, and I'm watching it. And say that again?
When I was 4.
Yeah, when you were 4 and I was like 12. and to just fill everyone in on what that show is about, it was about your journey of love and dating and kind of finding self-esteem through boys.
Yes.
And you're looking to kiss a boy and you're excited and filling up on this, filling a void of love on these boys. And it's just not working out. And it's not going to happen for you.
I mean, at first it works out. At first, it's really exciting and really amazing. And it's like, oh my God, this is possible. I can kiss this boy who is so hot and amazing. And then, then it doesn't work out later. Yes.
How does it not work out?
The boys I wanted to kiss were really the boys I wanted to date. Mm-hmm. And so they would kiss me, but they wouldn't usually want to date me, especially if I kissed them really fast.
So looking back on that, why were you not able to date them?
Nobody taught me how to date. Nobody even taught me how to, what a relationship was or how to have one. I just thought I want that. And I didn't know how to have that. And it didn't seem like it was under my control.
What I really saw in your show was that need, that desire to fill up self-esteem from other people.
Yeah.
And get something that you hadn't gotten.
Totally.
And do you feel like, first, let me go back to something you said. You said, I didn't know how to have a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Which is important. What was role modeled for you as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, role modeled, I think my parents were loving with each other. But I think there was a way in which, like, I don't know, there was some transactionality, like, you be the way I want you to be, and I'll be the way you want me to be. And there was some, my parents partied a lot, and so they weren't always physically or emotionally consistently available.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they'd be really loving, and then sometimes I'd be like, "Where are you guys?" And I'd wake up in a pile of coats in a room full of jackets within the back room of the party, and like, where's mom and dad? What's going on? And wonder and feel alone and scared, and like, what's and also if my parents were partying, or somebody was drinking, like, I felt like I had to be the adult. And so I went around a lot of my childhood thinking that I had to make the other person okay so that they could take care of me and love me.
And
So
what were they telling you during this when you would wake up in coats and parties? What was their message to you?
the message was very confusing. The message was, "We love you, you're awesome." Like, confusing to the point where I didn't know why I was so dysfunctional and so miserable, because the messages were like hippie loving, like, "You're okay, you're good, like, we love you," all this stuff, such that I didn't get that it was incongruous, and that I actually had a lot of neglect.
Yeah. It's like
Took decades.
Yeah, I'm giving you a bunch of problems, but I'm not even going to explain it to you.
No.
I'm not even going to give you a roadmap to healing.
Yeah.
I'm
so
gonna
I was monumentally, screwed up, because there was nothing I even could complain about. Like, I'm like, like, why am I so miserable? And there's nothing I can even point to that really happened in my life.
So I want to stop you.
I judged myself for being so miserable.
I feel like we need to come up with a term right now, you and me.
Yes, let's
There's
do
a
it.
certain type of parenting we need to label. And it happened. It somewhat happened to me. It happened to you. Happened to some of my clients. But it's a very specific thing where your parents fuck you up. Yeah. But it's never acknowledged, and they're kind of awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and their friends like them, and
they're cool,
and they're cool, and your friends think they're cool.
Yeah.
And they heal a lot, and now they seem pretty fine.
Yeah, they're fine. And you like, do you ever try to call them on it so you can get a little validation?
I mean, my mother has apologized. My mother's been in recovery for decades now, and she has apologized many, many times. And my dad, in some ways too, he's acknowledged things, but I don't even know if it doesn't even really help. Somehow it's like, why would I inflict
really?
on them? Why would I call out I don't know. Part of it was like, we didn't really tell the truth. And if you tell the truth, somehow there's a punishing. And I can't even explain it. I just sense that there's a punishing.
What do you mean you didn't tell the truth?
Like, to me, it's like, why would I even bother calling them out on it? I know what they did.
Right. You don't, you guys don't speak truth. You don't speak Spanish. You don't speak truth.
Yeah. And
so it's gibberish. Truth that you.
Yeah. And I would never say this to my parents even, because they would be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that."
Yeah.
There's a way in which I decided to hide from that moment on. It's just not worth it. We know we love each other, and that's
mature, because I have to admit, I'm looking for certain acknowledgments from my parents that.
I don't know if that's mature. I think maybe it's a cop out. I don't know. Like, do
No,
I need
what?
to get
You're
in and
mature or
go,
I'm mature? Who's?
I don't, I think you're mature. I think you are
I think
saying
you're
like,
mature. I don't. It's taken me nowhere. Gets me nowhere. It
maybe
and
I
we
said
love
that
each
at
other.
the same time. It's like you want to be met, you know? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I've given up. I don't need to be met. But then I miss out on like, I kind of give up in other moments of being met as well.
Like
So
what?
like, I think I don't show up fully. I don't try to call people out in customer service, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like I'm trying to smooth it over and make nice and still get what I need by like keeping my cards close to my chest and like, you know, in my relationship, I don't, you know, like I'm not as assertive or clear or like, you know, I know all the things that he did that are not okay. I don't need to point them all out. I
Okay.
know, you know, I know the whole thing. I don't need to go through the list of, oh, and how about that? And how about that? And how about that? Like, I don't know. Is that mature or is it lazy? I think they're
It's
codependent. I think,
sure. It's
I think,
codependent, lazy,
and
but at the
you know,
same time,
it wouldn't
picking your
necessarily
battles, doing
help.
your best.
Yeah, yeah, and like if I told this, you know, every person everything they did,
Right.
how helpful is that?
But here's the part that I would want to pass on to my kid and that backs up on me. I'm also non-confrontational. Sometimes you gotta stand up. It's there's a certain swallowing of self-worth that
Yeah.
grows. And can you connect that with that girl 20 years ago who was
Yeah.
seeking and kissing and
Totally. Totally. A million percent. I'll get back to that briefly though. I
Mhm.
want to say like little ways every day I feel like I'm growing in that place where like this morning I called up the gym that charged me for an extra month and like not a small amount of money, like
Mhm.
a lot of money.
Mhm.
And diplomatically, kindly, gently, I was like gonna get my money back no matter what, and I did.
Hmm.
And
Way to go, Dattner. You've come a long way.
yeah, it feels good. I mean, it was just like I'm ready to like let the lion out, and I'm like just waiting and just like, you know, are we good? Are we good? And followed it all the way through, and didn't need to unleash my fierceness
Mhm.
uh, because I got my money back.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, like when I look back to the times when I just I just knew what I wanted and I would go for it and I would, you know, be super attracted to some guy and we would end up making out. And yeah, I think there's a moment where, you know, some compromise comes up. And in order to get what I want, which is to make out with this guy, I may end up making a compromise. Maybe that's going further than I want with him, or maybe that's being willing to just have it be a one night stand.
Mhm.
I wish that I had learned to be really clear and open with what I want and be willing. I mean, you have to be willing to like lose it.
You have a line. You have a line in your show. It's the easiest way to say no was to say yes.
Sometimes the fastest way to say no is
Fastest
yes.
way to say no is to say yes. What does that mean?
Um, I think about like, I don't know, times when there was a make out on the table and explaining to them that I wasn't interested would have taken a lot of
Mhm.
a lot more work than just like having a kiss and running away. I don't know. I mean, to explain it, it sort of doesn't really do it justice.
No, I get it. So in other words, let's just
get this thing over with.
Do this to its completion.
Yeah.
And end it. So to actually put yourself in a physical situation you don't want to be in will be less excruciating than verbally handling this.
And having to have a whole thing about it and have a whole big long conversation and I think that was referring to like one particular circumstance that I don't remember anymore, but yeah, I remember writing that joke and thinking it was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, it is funny. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And it's also it says something about our expectations societally of just being able to speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
In the middle of a sexual experience. Allowing yourself stop if you want to stop.
Yeah, I think there's I've had experiences with people where they thought something else was going to happen than I did. And I think I'm just having a conversation with them. And then suddenly we're making out. And I'm like, wait, what? And to kind of, I'm so surprised that that's happening because I thought we were just talking and sitting and to it's a big emotional ship to turn around to go, hey, what the fuck are you doing? I'm kind, I'm just gonna be like, whoa, hey, but what actually is called for is like, seriously, stop it, Yeah. But I'm so surprised and shocked that someone would go from one thing to the other thing that I'm like, it takes a minute for me to turn the ship around.
And you talk about sort of your recovery in your show.
Yeah.
And can you tell us about that? How you sort of got out of the pattern.
Yeah.
I now found a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I hit a pretty rock bottom feeling of loneliness and it just really had spread to all of the areas of my life. I wasn't living the life I wanted to live. And so I became willing to go into 12-step recovery for a relationship addiction and I went to meetings several times a week in person and I made friends and I got a sponsor and I worked the steps and I hung out with people in program. And to this day, the people that I met there are some of my closest friends and, the people who really laid the foundation for the next chapters of my life. I was celibate for 1.5 years. That was not my choice at the beginning. I was like, okay, I could do 3 months. And then
it's like part of the program.
It was 1.5 years of just really sweet deepening of my relationship with myself and my relationship with friends and creating bonds with other female humans, and experiencing the beauty of friendship and then becoming friends with men and experiencing the beauty of that and just like the ease and the joy of not always looking around the world wondering what I can get and just feeling like a real sense of relaxation and ease in my body.
Dattner, thank you so much. Dattner is what I call you by your last name. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope we do it again.
It was so much fun, Dan. It's great to see you again.
Okay, we'll see you soon. And we're back. For all things Alicia Dattner, go to www.aliciadattner.com. That's ALICIADATTNER.com. Check out her new performances. She's done many shows since The Oi of Sex. She also does a writing workshop, which has great reviews, and she's always got really interesting events going on. So many parenting takeaways. I'm going to reduce it to 2 questions for us all to ponder. Number 1, do you speak the language of truth in your home with your children? When your children come to you with questions, curiosities, and fears, do you have answers that are honest, age-appropriate, and congruent with their environment and experience? And if we can do that, we have the opportunity to bring them emotional safety and security and the courage to do that in their relationships as teenagers and for the rest of their lives, to ask for what they need, which is what we want, right? Second question. When you're parenting, and again, this is one I think about a lot. When we're parenting, is our loyalty more to the situation at hand and the actual effect our behavior is having on our children? Or are we more loyal to the narrative of the type of parent that we want to be, right? And so Alicia and I were kind of talking about that cool parent that is maybe a little bit neglectful or abusive, but they preach whatever, maybe hippie love or the bohemian lifestyle, and no one ever calls them on it. And there's never any pathway toward empathy for the child, and the child sort of has trouble healing from certain behaviors. So I've thought of the term for it. I'm going to call it Lulu love. Okay, and I'm going to apply it more to my generation. Lulu love means because I'm wearing Lululemon, therefore I am a good parent. I have a vision of myself as a good parent. Me, for instance, I got my Lululemon. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm a therapist. I got a dog. I went trail running today. Therefore, I am a thoughtful, attuned parent that listens to my kid. Not true at all. I have anger issues. I go home. I'm distant. I'm self-absorbed. I'm worried. And the best thing I can do is get real with that and focus on being present in the moment rather than hiding behind my parenting philosophies. Parenting philosophies mean nothing if we're not following them. And so those are the 2 questions to consider. And finally, I'll mention, in order to live and none of us are perfect at it. We just want to do our best to, again, take responsibility for it. So even if in later life, when our kids come to us, we can make them feel validated. And living this as honest as possible life does dictate our behavior. So if we act irresponsibly and put our kid under a bunch of coats at a party, it's going to be hard to be honest about that, because there is no age-appropriate, honest answer that's not totally scary of why our kid got neglected. So we want to. It all starts with our behavior. Thank you, Alicia Dattner. Thank you guys for listening. I'm going to have some outtakes from our conversation that I think are really, really funny. We talk about the difference between baby boomers and my generation, Gen Xers, in parenting and mental health, and how mental health has deteriorated over the generations. It's hilarious. You're going to love it. We'll see you next time.